is when you get to the view, you see that, which is right here. Okay. So here I see the profile of that. Here's where I've got that shed roof drawn in right here. I can get that distance because I know, hey, there's the ridge, there's the edge. I can measure that X value. That's going to go right onto my roof plan. So that's why I said when you do these, you got to use your elevations kind of with your roof plan to develop both of them. Okay. Now, folks, what you need to now do is go to your floor plan, because where do we stop with scissor trusses? Okay. Where do we stop? So if I'm going to go to my floor plan here, now if you had some really good forethought, because this is vaulted, this is vaulted, this is vaulted. Okay. This is vaulted. What are we doing right in here? Is it vaulted or flat? Well, I'll tell you what, I would run this little section all flat if this wall happened to line up. That would create from the inside a good wall coming all the way up. I could do a plant shelf with a little dust collector on top of these, something like that. So we're kind of visualizing what's going on inside. Now the other thing I can do is I can run my scissor truss right all the way here. That's going to vault all this stuff. And then I can expect my framers to come back in and fill this section in. Because they're building this wall, so we can just carry that all the way up and they'll never know that that truss isn't a flat truss. Okay, you just overbuild inside. So in my mind, this is going to be flat. Now this is almost 4 feet. There's just going to be a couple trusses in here, but it's still a zone. Okay? And it's going to go flat from this wall. Okay? So I need to have that zone delineated, right? If you look on page 551, see where they've got that center line? That's showing, hey, all the trusses in this zone are here, then we use the center line, and then when we switch truss shapes. Okay, these are standard trusses right here. So how am I going to get that zone? Well, I do it right here on the floor plan. So I'm just going to come in here and draw a line right from, and you can, it's probably best to do the center here. So I'm going to do the mid-between two on this wall, and I'm just going to carry it all the way to my other wall. So I just came right on the edge of my marker and shot it through. Okay. Then I'm going to get on the other side of my steps. Okay. And let me just draw this one in, and I'll take that one all the way through to here. Okay, so now I've got my 2 zones delineated. Now, then I'm going to do a copy on these because they're not going to stay here. Okay, so let me do a copy on this line and this line. And I'm just going to use a common corner as a base point. And I got to go find where I have that thing. Okay, and I'm going to put it here and change these to center lines.
So we're just figuring out both sides of the stairs?
Yeah, because we're going to have a flat ceiling above that. Now, you can change it if you want. If you want to just, we've got to have a wall in between the master and the living area, right? We don't want that open.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we could just have the framers build that wall if we wanted to. But it's better to do it with a truss. It's a lot cheaper to do it with a truss.
So I have L-shaped stairs, so do I try to get it over the entire stairs?
No. You want to delineate it by rooms. Okay. If you have questions, so on yours, how does that line up with the kitchen and stuff? Let's look at your floor plan.
The floor plan's on here, so this is the kitchen wall. And this is the stairs.
Yeah, I think what you would want to do is still go over this wall right here, and then the framers will build that up.
So even though I've got the 2 closets here.
Yeah.
Okay, look at mine, that's mine. Here. See, I want this flat,
They're not stairs, so they're gonna. go
Yeah,
back
you're
up
still
to the
gonna, you're
wall.
still gonna do it on here, because you need your foyer to have that
Yeah,
grand.
exactly.
You want your foyer to explode out, right?
Mhm.
Because when you walk in a front door, doesn't it always look nice when things open up?
Mhm.
Okay. And we want that to be vaulted, part of it, so you're kind of forcing the framers to do it. All right, so, there it is. Now let's just copy our other framing note. It's already the right length. I'm just gonna copy this guy from there and put it anywhere in this zone. Make sure you can read the note, put it in a place where you can see it. I think I'm gonna have to use my background mask on this one. And what type of truss is this one? Still a gable shape, but I've got a flat bottom. Isn't that an STD? A sexually transmitted disease.
That's right.
And I'm gonna use background mask because I don't have enough room for this. Framing them.
So zones are just different trusses?
Yes? Mhm.
So that's just what makes it a different zone?
Yes. Because we're gonna change our truss shape. These are all gonna be scissor trusses from here to here. And then from here, they'll put in a couple trusses that have a flat bottom, standards. Now here, I'm gonna go back out to a different type of truss.
Okay.
So all we have to do is just kind of look at our underneath and upper top of the ceiling, give them the shapes and where we want them.
It's right in between those two segments.
Yeah. Okay, then we got one truss to end off the project.
Yeah.
Now this one goes out to here. Okay, so there's the extent of it. Okay, so you're carrying it from the outside of your covered deck to that other wall. So I'm running it, even though there's one here and here. There to there. Any questions on that?
No, that's one's bolted, right? That's what it's called.
Okay, that's leading me into my next question. This one, when you're beginning this, kind of hard to visualize. I've got this drawing. Okay? So in essence, here's that truss. Right here. If we're going to incorporate that shed roof as part of our original truss, here's your shape. Outside, inside. Okay. So to answer your question, if we didn't include this deck with it, it would be a vault, because vaults go from wall to wall, all the way. If it doesn't have an entire vault on it, it's a scissor. And we're including this into it where it's got a flat section, so this would be considered a scissor truss. Now, what's my outside shape look like? On page 718. What do we have a shape that looks like that? Yeah, we got one. So I'm standard on one side, just standard gable, right? Scissor, I guess I should say, scissor. But then I do have one side that's a broken pitch. So the note I would do here is I'd combine the two. Going to go back to that. So this one is going to be a scissor slash broken pitch. That's a pretty long note. I think I'm going to go 2 lines on this one. Better take my background mask off. I do like my text centered. So I'm gonna use a little formatting there to center that. Okay, so there's my note. Scissor slash broken pitch truss at 24 OC. Keep in mind, they're gonna have the floor plan, they're gonna have this section, they're gonna have all these other things to look at. I will tell you, just so you know, truss designers redraw your whole building. It's getting redrawn. Why? Because they're gonna bury this truss in 3 places. This truss is gonna have bury in 3 places. And I'm telling them that. Remember, I've got this hidden line for the outside right there? That's a burying wall. This is going to be a bearing wall. We need to put a beam out here for them. Let me go back to the cross section of that. See that straight up board? That's carrying a lot of weight right there. That's carrying all of this, and then this part will be broken out by now. Okay. Now let's handle this little guy. What happens when we get a little piece that we don't know what we're going to do? Okay. Now, can I find a truss that would do this one? Many times when you're doing these, you're going to use a mono truss. If you look at those shapes, see that little mono truss? That's a real popular truss over a porch. Now that happens really well on a gable end, like right here, because I got a big wall, right? And I can take a mono truss and just hang it right off this wall, and it'll look like it's part of it. On this one, I'm going to hand stack it. By that, I'm going to have my framers build it, because all it is a couple 2x6s. When you do not know how a roof is going to bear, and you're going to have them hand stack it, what you do on your note, okay, is you stop your arrows short of your bearing, or you do not terminate them on bearing. And that's a kind of a convention we've got saying, you're hand stacking this guy. Okay? By hand stack, I mean building on site. Okay? So I'm going to come in and copy this guy over, and it's going to be a real short one here. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put it right there. I'll do a little stretch on it, and I'm going to stop it short. So I'm just going to put it something like this, and then move both of them so that I do not terminate anywhere on bearing. Okay. The big thing I want to point out here is that you do not want these touching any bearing or something. And that's going to be a convention that we use in the Magic Valley, and I've used it other places also, that you're hand building this. Now, obviously, we don't have enough room for a note right here. Okay? So you can write it right out here to the side. You can use multi-leader, whatever. Let's go, I'll do a multi-leader on this one. Okay, so show you what I would put on this. So I'm just going to point to there, bring it out. And I'm going to say this is 2x6 at 24 inches on center. And I'll say hand stack. But I'm having a hard time typing today.
You don't say 2 inch by 6 inches.
Yeah, let's say pertinent, you probably ought to do 2 inch. Now make it read well, so I'll put some spaces in here. here. 2 inches by 6 inches
24 inches handstand.
at, I don't like those spaces here. And delete that out. 2 by 6 at 240C, any space there, handstand. Okay. So I'll just put that in. Now, the framer knows they're building this one on site.
You don't say truss, you just say,
2 by 6. And they're gonna use 2 by 6.
you don't say,
Because they're not making a truss.
okay.
Yeah. And you might wanna include shed, but they'll have the elevations, they'll know it's a shed. But that would probably be a nice bit of information just to help them out.
What if yours
So
isn't
shed 2 by 6?
Shed roof, yeah, let's do that. Do shed, roof.
What about mine's not shed?
Yours is gable. You'll probably use trusses on that one then. I would use it, because your framing note then is gonna go this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would just tell them, use gable standard trusses. And you only buy 2 trusses. But they'll do all that framing for you. So you're gonna have 1 truss there, 1 there, or yours is out
Mine's
here,
more of a
isn't it?
hip. I mean, isn't it more of a hip? It has 3 sides, one.
A hip or a deep?
Yeah, that's a hip,
Hip, it's a hip.
yeah.
Yeah, so. So what happens?
What do I
if-
tell them on hip?
Say hip roof, hand stack.
What what happens if you've chosen a truss and then the roofers think there's a better way to do it? Do they come back to you and say, hey, or do they make it work even though there might be a?
On the residential market, you're never gonna hear about it. They're just gonna do it. On the commercial market, yes, there would be a change order, and you would have a discussion about it, and then the engineer, drafter, the builder, everybody get together and say, you know, hey, we can save you some money by doing this, or we can do it your way, whatever the case might be. On the residential market, I would doubt you would ever be consulted.
Right. Is there a way you can say, gee, I have no idea what goes here, what do you recommend?
That's what we basically did by stopping those short. We basically said, you've got carte blanche here. Give me a shed roof. If I needed it built a certain way, Cheryl,
Mhm.
I better be doing a section through it and doing things like that and telling them, you will build it this way. Then it'll be up to the general contractor to make sure his builders do it that way. That's what the client pays for general contractor to do.
So you have to keep in mind that things will be changed, so in case you really, really want something, then you have to make a note.
Yeah,
Then
you
have to
better
do
be
a
drawn.
section and-
There's a lot on here we're not going into you would in a commercial building. You know, we haven't drawn any window jams, right? Commercial, you're gonna draw every single one. We haven't drawn any molding, you know, that we're gonna put in the house. So they're just gonna pick whatever they want and put it in there. Now, that's gonna happen between the general contractor and the client. We're not really in that picture. Remember, we're only getting paid $2,000 for 40 to 60 hours of work. Okay. Which is a travesty in my mind, but that's the way the market is. Because a good drafter will save this project thousands. Thousands, easily 25% of the cost of the build. Good drafter. All right, so you've got your framing notes all done? What do you need for dimensions? The only dimensions you need are your eaves. Are our eaves constant throughout this thing?
Yes.
Okay. So what you probably want to do then is come in and do some dimensions. I'll put mine on the 0 there so you can see them better. Okay. So all I'm going to do is pull these off. And let's see, I need to come off 24 units right there. and 24 this way. And I'm gonna grab this character, pull it out. Okay, there, I've just dimensioned the whole thing. That's a little better than the floor plan. If you had other dimensions, there are eaves that change, you need to dimension them. Always dimension them. This is one case where you break it. One of the rules of dimensioning was never come from a hidden line, right? Here, you dimension everything from this wall because it's the only thing these roofers have out in the field to measure from is this wall as they build this roof. So you dimension from there. Now, you might have some other components. Okay? So that dimensions the entire thing, but let me kind of show you a different roof plan. What if you have some penetrations in the roof? Major penetrations. Like here, I put some sun tunnels in this original structure. Okay? What are sun tunnels? They're those things right up in the back of this here. Okay? That bring outside light in. Those are major penetrations. I need to dimension where these go. Okay. Now, do you have a stovepipe? Got a pellet stove, right? Is that going to go up through the roof? Pellet stoves don't have to go through a roof. They can go through a wall, okay, because they're a forced air system. Okay. So maybe it doesn't go through the roof. Maybe it does. Skylights must be shown, must be dimensioned. Any major penetration. Now, there's a whole bunch of penetrations that's going to go into this thing, and they're going to go right over here somewhere. You're going to have a bunch of little things sticking up over here. What are these going to be?
Vents for the plumbing.
You've got vents for your plumbing. Your furnace is going to need a vent. Any combustible device, your hood for above your range has to have a vent that comes out. These are standard. We're going to take care of those in a note. You do not put those on or dimension them. Because in essence, you really have no idea where they're going to be. It'll be up to where the plumber can get it all up into the attic and gather it up and stick it up there. Or the HVAC guy. We're going to handle all those with a note. Okay, and the text in the chapter covers all of this when they talk about penetrations. Do I got, I think I have all these dimensions. Let me see if I got it. Yeah, I don't know if you can you see that color? Let me change the color of those layers. This was, and you'll see the dimensions that go on here. Okay, you can see that, can't you? So the 14-inch solo tubes, and then got the width and height. Notice that I came from the outside of your bearing wall for those.
I only have my outside building wall, but not to put the other wall
Yeah, that's all that's required is to put the outside.
on the.
You see this stuff here? This stuff is on color 254 and I did it to about 10%. It's just that you got to use a magnifying glass to see that on the print. That's just something I did on this project. Now, you do need one other thing. Do you have any gable end vents? We have to ventilate this roof. So on all your gable end vents, you should have at least one note somewhere. Now, on my house, I've got 3. Because I've got my 2 gable ends on the main side of the house, right here. I'm going to put a gable end vent in there, and then I have one on my garage. What's a gable end vent? Declan, you know what a gable end vent is? Okay. Let me show you what one is.
Isn't that like your attic roof?
Yeah, it's I can't tell you. Okay, so here's a bunch of pictures of some. And here they are in some houses. See these little things right up in here underneath that you see all the time? On almost everything?
Mm-hmm.
There's a circular one here. Up in the top on that one, here's custom deal. Here's kind of the traditional square one right here. If you want to know the size of these, jump onto HomeDepot.com and you can get the sizes right off of there. Now, why do we use gable end vents? You have to ventilate the roof, and there's a calculation for that. The calculation is that you must vent your roof for that 1 square foot. Let me just write it this way. 1 foot squared of venting per 150 square feet of house. So what is the square footage of your upper floor that has a roof over it? Include the garage. Gabe, would you use the area command and do real quick area of the outside of your upper floor, include the garage? Just snap around the outside walls.
You say include the garage?
Yeah. You're going to be somewhere around 2,000.
Yeah, 2100.
Okay, so how you figure out that all the vents or the holes you've got to punch into your roof, hey, you're 2,100 square feet, right? Okay, so what you're going to do is say, I've got 2,100 square feet of house, divide that by 150. And can somebody punch that number real quick?